Hello again, folks, and welcome back. So now we have our spell book. We can fill it with our spells, we can select one, but we cannot cast one yet. So let's fix that. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go into our edit, and in the project settings we need to add another input. I'm going to minimize these to get them out of the way. So I'm going to add another action mapping, and this is going to be cast. For mine, I'm going to use the right mouse button. And then with that done, I'm going to head into the player blueprint. Oh, one thing I forgot to say last time, on the, not the player HUD, where is it? Spellbook widget. If you want to add a little bit of spacing between your buttons, over here in the child layout, you can add some slot padding to it. So like if I set it to 5, let me head in and take a look. So you see it's got a little bit more of a space to it now. So just a quick little addition there. But alright, with that done, let's go into our player blueprint. And I'm going to right click and call that cast action event. So when we press this button, one thing we want to do is make sure we actually have a spell selected. So I'm going to drag out my spell selected and break it open. And I'm going to check to see if the spell class is valid. So we're going to see if it is a valid class. Branch. So if it is a valid class, then we want to see if we actually can attack. Because if we can't attack, that means we're either firing the bow or swinging the sword, and we don't want it to try to do both at the same time. So I'm going to drag out my can attack boolean and get it. And then I'm going to do a branch again. So if it's true, and we can, let's just do this. Back this up. I'm going to drag off and say and boolean. I know I don't have a very good track record with these combination booleans, but I think this one is right. So if it is valid and we can attack, then we move on. Pray for me. Alright, here we go. If we have a spell selected and we can attack, then we want to add a boolean real quick called casting. Now this won't be a spell name, it'll be a boolean. And on the true, we are going to set that to true, and we want to set can attack to false. So for right now, instead of setting up the animation just this moment, let's just make sure that our spells are actually spawning. So to do that, I'm just going to go into my viewport real quick. I'm going to highlight my mesh, and I'm going to adjust her animation. So I'm going to set animation mode to use animation asset. And instead of fire, I'm going to find my sword and shield casting, which was part of the first animation pack that, if y'all downloaded that, or if you have a specific animation for casting, then you'll use that here. So that's about what she'll look like when she's casting the spell. So I am going to add a scene component. This one's going to be called cast from. And I'm going to drag it up and in place. Right at her hand. So, not top. So you can use these orthographic things to really line it up real well. Then I'll switch back to perspective. And I'm going to reset her animation mode back to blueprint. So in my event graph, if all this is true, then I'm just going to spawn actor from class. Now the class is going to be my spell selected. I'm going to break it open again, and that's going to be the class. And the spawn transform is going to be my cast from. So I'm going to get its world transform, not scale. Why did it select that? get world trans, it's not even going down, transform, and plug that in right there. So for now that should be enough to test, but if we spawn anything right now, they're going to be just nothing. So I'm going to just do the fireball real quick. So I'm going to open that full blueprint editor because we need to establish its particle system. Now if you're using the FX variety pack, it has a really good one for a fireball. I like it. It's a fireball. Can't beat that, right? When you're trying to make a fireball, what's better than a fireball? So I'm going to go into the fireball blueprint and set its I'm going to highlight the particle system and set the template to that so that when I look in here, there she blows. Compile that real quick. And then go out into my game. Learn the spell, select the spell, cast the spell. I'm going to go into the player blueprint and I'm going to rotate my cast from that thing. I'll rotate it 90 degrees because I always forget about that part. I don't know why. I've done it so many times you'd think I'd know. But oh well. Alright, so learn my spell, select my spell, cast my spell. I can only do it once. Why can I? Oh. Because then we're not able to cast again. So for testing purposes, I'm just going to set that to true. Once we set the animation up, then we'll actually, want to restrict that. Select my spell. And I can cast as much as I want. But you don't really want to do like this. Although it looks like a Mario game almost. Boing. Alright. We want her to actually go through the animation. So, to do that, I'm going to go into my character blueprint, find her animation blueprint, open it up, go into, not here, into my state machine. Now from my base, I'm going to add a state called casting. I'm going to set it in between my ranged in here because I'm going to have it to where she can. Oh, actually, no, I'm going to have 3 different ones that she can enter based on which one she's going to because I want to blend them between whatever locomotive state she's in. So, I'm going to add another state attached to the bow combat called ranged casting. Off to the side. And then from the armed, I'm going to add another one called melee casting. And then let's see how far we are into 8 minutes, not bad. Alright. So what we want to do to be able to get to here and from here, we want to find out if casting is true, but we haven't set that up yet. So in our event graph, we're going to grab our cast to player blueprint, copy that, and hook it up over here, drag it down into place. From my as player blueprint, I'm going to get my casting boolean and promote that to a variable called, it's just going to be cast, I guess, since I used casting. Now with that compiled, we can go into our transition states. So from armed to melee casting, I want that to happen if she's casting. Damn it. From ranged combat to casting, I want that to happen. Same thing if she's casting. And from base to casting, you guessed it, if she's casting. Compile that. Now casting to base will never, we can also just do it from right here and just go hit can enter transition, drag out our cast, add a not boolean and hook that up. Then we can just copy that, move to the next one, paste that, move to the next one, paste that. Result was visible but ignored. Oh, that just means that we haven't set up the actual animation yet. So I am going to go into my state machine. Now for the ranged casting, I want her to do this if she's holding the bow. I want that to be her locomotive state. So I'm going to drag out my ranged blend space. And I want to do a layered blend per bone, just like we did with the melee attacking and the bow and arrow firing. Now the blend pose, the base pose is going to be our movement, and the blend pose, there it is our casting. Now when you drag that out, you want to make sure that loop animation is set to false. I'm going to hook my direction and speed up real quick. Then we want to establish what bone we're blending at. So with that selected, over in the details panel, I'm going to go to my branch filters and add an element. Now I'm going to do this on the spine just like last time. The blend depth I'm going to set to 5, and then we want to make sure that we're blending by this. We're blending the bone rotations in mesh space, not local space, otherwise it'll look kind of funky. And for the curve blend option, we want normalize by weight. Then I'll just hook that right into there. Then I'll copy everything except the ranged. Now copy. And go to my melee casting and hook that up. And now I'm going to drag out my armed blend space. Hook that up. Hook my direction and my speed. Then back to here, and for my regular casting, I'll paste, but I'll delete the direction because here she doesn't have that. She's just moving like that. So that's our base locomotion state. So I'm going to hook my base locomotion blend space. And with that all done, there she goes. So now we want to go into our actual casting animation, because in here we're setting that casting is true. Oh, and I'll disable that. And so we need to go into that actual animation and revert it. So right about here is where I want her to cast the spell. So I'm going to add a new notify called cast. And then right here, if I remember correctly, let's check the event graph real quick. I could just set my resume attack. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to call the resume attack, and off that I'm just going to set cast back to false, just like we did with the fire arrow. So now in here I can just call my resume attack notify. So now let's take a look. I don't have any spells selected, can't do nothing. I'm going to learn my first spell. Casting is not going back to false, so let's take a look. So when I click it, I set casting to true, and then when it gets to this point in the anim notify, it should be setting it back to false. Why it not do that? Oh, maybe it's because I clicked it again. No, there's gonna be a reason. So casting set to true, can attack. Let's see. Let me try it one more time. Oop. Yeah, she's not blending back, so let's take a look. So in my casting to base, cast is not. Why are you not going back? Let's see, what if I do cast equals empty? Oh, wait a minute. It's because I'm stupid. So I'm just gonna hook the knot back up real quick. And then I'm gonna go back into my event graph, because I can't just set this back to false. I have to pull it from the actual player blueprint. So let's not get casting, fuck. Set casting. There it is. Alright, I got there. We just took a little detour. We was just sightseeing. That's all that was. So now, let me take a look. So now we can cast that way. Let me find a sword. And a bow. We will alter how fast the spell spawns because it's still being spawned as soon as we push the button. So let's fix that real quick. So in the player blueprint, I'm going to detach this spawn actor, move it down, create a custom event called cast spell. Hook that up just like that. And then inside the player anim blueprint, I'm going to find my animation notify for cast. Not that one. Oh no, let's just do a anim notify. And then it should pop up anim notify. Cast. Event anim notify cast. If you can't find it, scroll up a little ways. It should be there. So from the player reference, then I'll cast spell. That way it spawns at the right moment. Let's take a look real quick. Let me pick up my sword and pick up my bow. I can cast it here. I can cast it there. Let me equip my bow. I can't attack while I'm trying to until it's done. That gravity on that thing is a little bit too much, and the speed's a little too slow. So you can adjust all that. You just go to your data table. Like, let me see. Let me set my. Well, maybe it's just the gravity. Let me set that to 0.25. Maybe the speed's all right though. So pick up my bow. Learn my spell. Oh, another thing. Okay, one more thing to fix real quick. I know. Oh, this one's going long. I'm sorry. Alright, so one more thing to fix real quick. We need to adjust. We don't want to just spawn here. Well, we do want it to spawn here. Now what we could do is we could attach it to the follow camera like we did the fire from. Oh, but then it'll move. Let's just see. We'll get the world location of it. Now from the spawn transform, we want to make a transform. For the world location, we want the cast from location. For the rotation, we want to grab out our follow camera and get forward vector. And it'll make a rotation from our X vector. So now that should have it to where so it's a little bit wonky when she's running like this. It'll spawn that way. But we'll tweak it. But right now she's spawning it and it's going up. So you can adjust your speed and gravity and everything based on that. You can set up all your other spells. So let's do one more. I know, I'm sorry. Let's see. Go to the shock. I'm gonna set my spell because there's a good electro. Let's see, I'll just type KY. And it's a Thunderball. Thunderball was the good one. So now I can learn that spell, and then it spawns it too. So yeah, I hope you found it fascinating. We'll be touching up on this and improving it over the next ones. So in the next one, we'll tweak it a little bit further so that it's, you know, nicer. So I will see y'all in the next one. Bye bye.